Unit 6, Civil War and Reconstruction, Chapter 17, Reconstruction, Lesson 2, Congressional Reconstruction. How and why did Congress take control of Reconstruction from the President? Terms to know: radical Republican, a Republican who believed that Congress should direct Reconstruction. Register, to record a person officially as eligible to vote. Ku Klux Klan, a secret organization of white men formed after the Civil War that used violence and terror against African Americans. Carpetbagger, a Northerner in the South working for a Reconstruction government. Scalawag, a white Southerner who supported Reconstruction. Cease, to end, to stop doing an action, compulsory to required. It's a timeline of when some things happened. Just look at that. I'll probably ask a question on it. Congress takes control. How and why did Congress take control of Reconstruction from the President? Because Southern states had seceded, many Northern leaders argued that they must apply to rejoin the Union. The U.S. Constitution gives Congress, not the President, the power to admit new states. For that reason, many Northerners believed that Congress should oversee Reconstruction. Also, they saw that President Johnson's Reconstruction plan had produced few changes in the South. In the South, former Confederates filled top state government posts. Every Texan elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 1866 had been either a secessionist or a Confederate Army officer. Texas sent Oral Roberts, president of the Texas Secession Convention, to the U.S. Senate. The election of ex-Confederates angered Northerners in Congress. The South's defiance of federal control, especially in its political leaders and in the Black Codes, led many Northerners to attack President Johnson's Reconstruction plan. These acts of the Southern states strengthened a group of Republicans in Congress. They were known as the Radical Republicans. Radical Republicans wanted to place tougher requirements for the Southern states to rejoin the Union, protect the rights of freed people, and win the votes of freed men. President Johnson did not want to give up control of Reconstruction. In late 1866, however, the congressional elections gave Radical Republicans two-thirds control of both houses of Congress. With the power to override any veto, they launched their own Reconstruction plan. How did Radical Reconstruction begins? How did Congressional Reconstruction in Texas differ from Presidential Reconstruction? Radical Reconstruction, also known as Congressional Reconstruction, was harsh. In March 1867, Congress divided the South into 5 military districts and put a general in charge of each. Texas and Louisiana made up the 5th district, controlled by General Philip Sheridan. Under Congress's plan, the military would rule the districts until states met certain requirements. The Southern states had to ratify the 14th Amendment. Some states, including Texas, had to ratify the 15th Amendment too. This guaranteed African American men the right to vote. States had to write new constitutions giving African American men the right to vote and hold public office. They also had to repeal the Black Codes. General Sheridan assigned control of Texas to General Charles Griffin. Griffin used the Army and the Freedmen's Bureau to register male freedmen to vote. He also removed former Confederates from the voting rolls. When Governor Throckmorton complained, Sheridan removed him and replaced him with Unionist Elisha Peace. Griffin replaced hundreds of other officials with Republicans. He then set an election for delegates to a constitutional convention. Across Texas, freedmen registered other freedmen to vote. By 1868, nearly 50,000 freedmen had been registered. This figure represented nearly one-half of all Texas voters. Across Texas, freedmen registered other freedmen to vote. By 1868, nearly 50,000 freedmen had been registered. This figure represented nearly one-half of all Texas voters. Some whites tried to prevent freedmen from exercising their rights. A group called the Ku Klux Klan used violence and terror to block Reconstruction and to prevent African Americans from voting. The Klan threatened and attacked freedmen and Freedmen's Bureau workers. They also attacked carpetbaggers and scalawags. Carpetbaggers were Northerners who hurried to the South after the war to work for the government, and scalawags were white Southerners who supported Reconstruction. In 1868, Texans elected delegates to the Constitutional Convention. Many freedmen voted for the first time. Republicans won 78 of 90 seats. 10 of the delegates were African Americans. The convention produced the Constitution of 1869. It declared that no one could be prevented from voting because of race. It gave freedmen the rights to hold office and to attend public schools. It also strengthened the governor's power. Texans approved this Constitution and elected a governor and other leaders. 11 African Americans were elected to the state legislature. The new governor was Republican Edmund J. Davis. Republicans also controlled the state legislature. Texas ratified the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. Now the state had met all requirements. Reconstruction in Texas was ended. Just a reminder that women were still not allowed to vote until 1920. The end of Reconstruction. How did Reconstruction in Texas come to an end? Reconstruction in Texas ceased in March 1870. Governor Davis still exercised great power, however. He and the legislature improved Texas roads and set up compulsory public schools for African American and white children. A state police force was created and placed under Davis's control. Government spending rose, and so did taxes. Many Texans protested the higher taxes. Many white Texans disliked the state police. Many freed people formed their own small rural communities. Others settled near towns, taking jobs in the homes and businesses of whites. However, some freed people started businesses and others worked on ranches or in the lumber industry. In 1872, Democrats won a majority of the seats in the state legislature. They immediately reduced the governor's power and abolished the state police. In 1873, election for Governor Davis ran against Democrat Richard Koch. Some Democrats used threats and violence to keep freedmen from voting. Koch easily won the election, and Democrats won all other state offices. Some Republicans thought the election had been unfair and appealed to the Texas Supreme Court. The court nullified the election results, so Davis refused to step down. However, Democrats were determined to put Koch in office. Davis asked President Grant to send troops to keep him in power. When Grant refused, Davis resigned. Republican control of Texas was over.